So it's 2014. TV audiences were enjoying the first and last good season of True Detective. Macklemore and Ryan Lewis were beating Kendrick Lamar to win Best New Artist at the Grammys. Let It Go was a thing, and so was Kimye, officially at least. Oh, and people were actually paying to see Legos on the big screen. Now, even with all that going on, some people might argue that 2014 wasn't that bad. Those people probably didn't own an iPhone at the time. Yes, this was the year that Apple and YouTube combined forces to redefine the world's understanding of spam. People today still refer to what they announced at the Flint Center as one of the most embarrassing misfires in marketing history. It was the 9th of September. The iPhone 6 had just been unveiled. For some reason, Apple's very own chief executive, Tim Cook, was over the moon about the first U2 album in 5 years, Songs of Innocence. According to Timmy, this new auditory revolution was something that people just had to have. So much so that after the rock legends performed its lead single, The Miracle of Joey Ramone, Cook famously cooed,
"Wasn't that the most incredible single you've ever heard?"
No, Tim, not by a long shot. Yet and still, thanks to a deal orchestrated by a lot of smart people, millions of iTunes subscribers awoke to find a new U2 classic in their accounts. Apple called it the largest album release ever. They were probably right. But before we get into the rage that followed, let's talk history for a bit. You see, this wasn't the first time that Apple and U2 worked together. Remember that charming Vertigo ad back in 2004? Bono was a huge fan of the forward-thinking and charitable Steve Jobs, going so far as to call him the hardware-software Elvis. Apple's numerous contributions to AIDS research served as a catalyst for products like the special edition iPod that promoted Bono's product-led charity in 2006. U2 was also one of the first musicians to recognize the true potential in Apple's musical revolution back when most artists were calling them the death of the industry. Bono has stated that the iPod was the greatest pop object since the electric guitar. So yeah, a lot of history. But what about the deal itself? Well, to release Songs of Innocence for free, Apple paid U2 and Universal Music Group an unspecified fee as a royalty and, get this, funded a marketing campaign with a price tag of around $100 million. Apple would gain a 5-week exclusivity period in which it would own U2's new album before it was released everywhere else in October. Guy Oseary, the manager of U2, called the move a gift from Apple to their customers. They bought it and they're giving it away. Bizarrely enough, the logic behind this joint venture was actually quite reasonable. Records weren't selling nearly as much as they used to, and more artists were relying on big, headline-stealing events to create buzz. And by working exclusively with Apple, U2 got to shine a light on their extensive back catalog. Foolproof, right? Well, Iggy Pop said it the best during the John Peel lecture for BBC in October. The people who don't want the free YouTube download are trying to say, "Don't force me." And they've got a point. Part of the process when you buy something from an artist, it's kind of annoying. You're giving people love. It's your choice to give or withhold. He felt like they were robbed of that chance, and they have a point. The Apple U2 debacle was a blatant act of intrusion that reeked of desperation and poor taste. It was a product of the industry's fledgling sales, the result of 40-something-year-old executives trying to replicate other vastly superior album release strategies. You'd be hard-pressed to find another campaign so tone-deaf, especially for such a culturally relevant company. I mean, it was clear that U2 wasn't in their prime anymore, and it showed in their music. And on the biggest stage of them all, Apple, already viewed by many as music's big brother, finally crossed the line. Not only were they showing bias by acting as a glorified publicist to an already largely successful band, they violated the privacy of their consumers, extremely dedicated, mind you, by forcing unwanted files into their personal PCs. Wired indicated that the forcible dissemination of a trinket that statistics suggest is useless to 498 million of the 500 million people who received it is a simple demonstration of privilege. For Christ's sakes, the album was impossible to delete for the first week because iTunes recognized it as a past purchase that you never actually purchased. Just imagine if some company installed your new house or car with some unappealing art that you had to bother customer service for a week just to get rid of.
U2 is a band, I should add, that ranked #1 in a poll taken by senior Apple executives last April at a golf and spa retreat in Palm Springs, so we thought this was a no-brainer. But apparently, to today's youth, giving away a free album from one of the best bands of all time is like going to their house and taking a gigantic crap on their doorstep.
Thankfully, Apple and U2 eventually got the message. That very next Monday, on September the 15th, Apple launched a removal page for the album. Yes, Songs of Innocence earned its own deletion tool. Bono even fessed up to the blunder, stating that we had this beautiful idea and we got carried away with ourselves. Artists are prone to that kind of thing. Drop of megalomania, touch of generosity, dash of self-promotion, and a deep fear that these songs that we poured our life into over the last few years mightn't be here. There's a lot of noise out there. I guess we got a little noisy ourselves to get through it. Yeah, no issue. Wait, you actually like this video? Well, show some love by liking and subscribing. Until next time.